Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing wonderful out there this morning and having a great start to your day and a fantastic week out there so far. Here to break down the latest on this storm system that's going to impact the entire eastern U.S. over the next 48 hours. We will speak on the lake effect snows to follow. Also, we'll get very detailed on everything. I would say the biggest thing with this storm system is the winds. This is going to be quite significant. It's uptrended all the way up to right now. In fact, the National Weather Service, for example, out of Boston, forecasting 50, 60, even 70 mile per hour wind gusts with this storm system over the next couple of days. So we're going to speak heavily on that, but we'll talk about everything. We'll talk about the snow side of this. We'll speak on you folks in Atlantic Canada. And then after we get done doing all of that, we'll break down what's going to happen weather-wise for your Tuesday, which obviously kind of links into the storm system because the beginning stages of it is starting right now. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Seems like you guys had a lot that you needed prayer for yesterday, and that's not a knock. I actually absolutely love to see it. Now, you know, another way to look at it, of course, I hate that people are going through so much, but I like to see it because people are becoming, I guess, more and more comfortable to put their prayer requests in the comments. And so we can pray over you folks, and you know I can, and many others have an opportunity to do so too, and we can glorify God doing it. So definitely, if you got anything we can pray about, I know it's a tough season for a lot of folks out there. For a lot of people, this isn't the best time of the year. For a lot of people, it's the worst time of the year. So whatever those reasons may be, we're praying for you folks. So put your prayer requests in the comments. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So we're going to start us off looking at the global models. I'm not going to spend as much time on this as I have been. But I'm showing you guys this for a reason because the Euro and the GFS still disagree. And I am leaning towards the Euro, so I'll show it first. So we're going to start off for overnight tonight. This is starting off around, midnight to 1 a.m., depending on if you're in Central to Eastern time. So a lot of moisture overspreading all of the eastern U.S. Cold front back here, so cold air has not caught up with the backside of this moisture yet. So there's two things to focus in on. The main system right into here, and then the lake effect snows across the Great Lakes region. So obviously if you're in the Great Lakes region and you want to tune in more to that, then obviously focus your eyes on the Great Lakes area. But we'll continue to move forward. Strengthening low pressure. This has really trended west. Once upon a time, this was really over the Delmarva. Now it's all the way back over the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia, for example. So moisture has definitely trended more further west, but we'll keep this going. Could have an icy situation turning to just good old-fashioned rain up here in Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. And then look at the green turning to blue right here. Rain switching to snow in the central and southern Alps, and northeast Tennessee could certainly get a burst of heavy snow with this. We'll have to see if it actually accumulates. But look at the Great Lakes snow machine kicking up. We got the lake effect snow swirling around. The mesoscale models look pretty significant with this. We keep on going to about tomorrow afternoon, and we got light to moderate, maybe at times heavy snow, switching from that rain to that snow across western PA, almost all of West Virginia, especially the higher elevations, and even eastern areas of Ohio, western PA, getting into the southern tier of New York. Rain will begin to try to switch to snow tomorrow afternoon, and then we're going to have some scattered rain, snow showers all the way down here to the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South. Quite possibly could get some flurries as far south. I know it shows up in green, and I'll take a look at the HRRR model here in a second, but this could very well be some snow showers as far south as Nashville, Tennessee. Then you see the light snow across the lake effect snow areas, but this is going to be heavy for certain areas. The interesting thing is all this heavy rain over the I-95 corridor. This will be a wind-driven rain event for sure, as you're going to have a low-level jet ramping up right over the southern sections of New England, and that is because low pressure is cutting inland. So strong winds will mix at the surface. This will create a big-time wind event for southern New England into the coastal areas of Maine and New Hampshire. And look at the cold air trying to race eastward and catch up with this moisture. So we'll have a heavy rain, wind-driven rain event switch to some wet snow. Don't think it'll last very long. We're going to have some scattered snow showers Wednesday night into Thursday morning. You see these slashes of blue in Ohio, northern Kentucky, West Virginia, PA, and then you see the darker shades of blue up here. This is the lake effect snows across the lake effect areas. Southern Ontario, off Lake Huron, lake-to-lake connection could be possible. And then we start to get into Thursday morning. Okay, this main system starts to clear out, really impacting Atlantic Canada at this point, portions of Maine. And then you see the lake effect snow here. And this band could really tilt into Buffalo. Buffalo could get a little bit more snow off this, and really just south of Buffalo. Erie, maybe not quite as much with this, but I still think you'll get the potential for several inches of snow. And then it's just the lake effect snows through Thursday, through Friday, and then through Saturday. And I do think things begin to relax, and then we'll start our warming trend, which we haven't spoke on much, but we will after we get done with this storm system, as we kind of search for the next storm system to watch. Now, I just said I'm not going to spend long on the global models, but there I am spending a few minutes on it. I'll race through the GFS pretty quick. The GFS is still pretty snowy on the backside of this, and this is pretty wild considering the fact, I mean, we're within 24 to 36 hours of this system. Still wants to show an all-out heavy snow event across the central apps, even eastern Kentucky, eastern Ohio, western PA as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon. It shows about the same scenario for the Northeast. The big difference with the GFS is this. It really wants to switch to some heavy snow for like eastern to northeastern Tennessee. I mean, the Tri-Cities area, Mountain City, Knoxville, Gatlinburg. We'll have to see if this happens. If this happens, it's a big win by the GFS, I would say. But this clears on out, and then we get the lake effect snow behind it for the next, pretty much for the rest of the work week. So just a closer look at the HRRR model. I do want to speak on my friends here in the Midwest, down into the Mid-South with the HRRR model, because I do want to mention St. Louis. For example, we start this evening. I think as we get into the overnight hours, we could get some snow showers. So don't be surprised you wake up tomorrow morning, some flurry snow showers drifting around from St. Louis back to Kansas City. The interstate corridor between Kansas City, Columbia to St. Louis could get some snow showers, brief burst of heavy snow showers all the way up into northern Illinois. And then as we're making our way into tomorrow afternoon, look at the light to maybe at times moderate snow flying around across St. Louis. This will be kind of scattered and smothered, if you will. But definitely not going to be doing it all day. But we could certainly have some snow showers around across the Midwest, Missouri, Illinois, getting all the way into Indiana. Maybe some snow showers tomorrow afternoon, evening for Indianapolis. And then look, I mean, it gets a little bit more widespread. I mean, some snow flying around for southern Illinois. This is getting into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And then it looks like it gets kind of heavy as we start to get into tomorrow evening. You see the darker shades of blue all the way down to Kentucky, western Kentucky. This could be some burst of snow tomorrow evening for these areas. And then it heads on out and starts to dig to the eastern sections of Kentucky and Tennessee. Now, to focus in on the rest of this area, and I think I need to include Indiana and Ohio too in this, but just to kind of dip down to the mid-south southern apps here, we're starting it off overnight. We're getting into tomorrow morning. There's the precipitation trying to build back westward. All rain when waking up tomorrow morning, maybe in West Virginia. But here it is. Here's that brief switch from the HRRR model tomorrow morning to snow. There was a couple runs yesterday that showed snow all the way back to Nashville with this. Not so much anymore, but switching to some wet snow across the higher terrain of North Carolina, Tennessee tomorrow morning. Look at the rain switching to heavy snow. This could add up to a quick couple inches depending on your location, but it switches rain to heavy snow in Charleston, West Virginia tomorrow morning. Snow flies around for a few hours. Could add some snowfall accumulation and like a dusting maybe in northeast Tennessee, western Virginia. I mean, even into like the Banner Boone area could get some snow flying around. And then we have to watch behind this as just energy embedded into the trough, which we've kind of been watching, kind of pivots behind this. And this is like tomorrow evening. I mean, this is some darker shades of blue. I mean, this could be some burst of heavy snow with this. Anybody in Kentucky. And even though you're seeing this in green down here, like all the way down to the Cumberland Plateau tomorrow evening, some snow showers are possible. You just got energy embedded with this trough that's digging down. And this continues all the way until late tomorrow evening. Some snow showers based off this run, it makes it all the way as far south as maybe sections of northern Georgia. So we'll see what happens with this, and makes it all the way to the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina, all the way to West Virginia, and might just add up to a quick dusting. But I am interested to see what happens in Kentucky. Kentucky's been a big winner this year with just light events, I would say. And then just to show you guys some love up here in Indiana and surrounding states, just the rest of this. We've already kind of showed you this a little bit already, but tomorrow evening, western sections of Ohio could get some snow showers, just a burst of snow along this banding feature here. So don't let this catch you by surprise down here in Cincinnati, Dayton, maybe even Louisville. This burst of snow might move through the entire state of Ohio tomorrow evening and then all the way into West Virginia and so forth. So we'll certainly watch this. And just what does the HRRR model look like for the Northeast? Well, a lot of rain starts to surge in overnight. This is just heavy rain in eastern PA, New Jersey, the Delmarva, southern New England. The pink is freezing rain. We're going to have some freezing rain. This is going to be an issue after midnight tonight across New Hampshire into Maine. It's going to add up, and then hopefully it just switches to good old rain. It could hang around for a while on those higher elevations. And folks, we could have some severe thunderstorms along the I-95 corridor, folks, all the way up to southern New England. Look at this banding of orange and red. This is some thunderstorms with this. Wind-driven heavy rain tomorrow morning, getting all the way to tomorrow afternoon. Winds will be gusting with these bands of heavy rain in southern New England to 50, 60 miles per hour. And then look at the rain switching to snow back here tomorrow evening in New York State. The Adirondacks, the Catskills will be favored with this. And I just don't think the cold air ever catches up with the moisture due to this low pressure cutting due north across Maine. So this will just be a wind-driven rain event for Maine. I really think 95% of it, besides the freezing rain right at the beginning. Now, talking about snowfall accumulations, I don't have those individual National Weather Service panels pulled up. I do apologize. Just didn't have the time this morning. Was running a little bit behind. But, between now and Thursday morning, guys, it does show dusting to even an inch snowfall amounts across Kentucky. Western Kentucky, you guys have just kind of been robbed if you're a snow fan. Central and Eastern Kentucky has been a little bit of a different story, but a dusting is possible to an inch, depending on where you live, and especially in Central Kentucky. A few inches of snow is possible. Even Charleston could get like an inch of snow with this. A few inches of snow to maybe several inches up here in the higher elevations of West Virginia. And just a little bit of snow in the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. And it is going for around 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of snow here in the northern counties of Tennessee, kind of between Nashville and the Cumberland Plateau. Going for a little bit. And then we kind of book it north, into this area from St. Louis all the way through Ohio. Ignore this. We'll talk more on that here in a second. But, with just the bands of snow over the next 48 hours after the main system pulls through, anybody can get anywhere from just a dusting to an inch of snow. I mean, you see 4/10 of an inch of snow here, 3/10 of an inch of snow here. So definitely enough just to add up on elevated surfaces, and maybe a little bit of whiteness on the ground is certainly possible. It's just the common theme is just a few to several tenths of an inch of snow. So we continue to move. Let's go to PA here. And, the Allegheny Mountains going for a couple inches of snow all the way into northern PA, maybe a couple inches of snow. We'll talk more on this banding feature here. This is more so lake effect snow. Some of this could be actual snow from the system. Not really expecting any in the immediate mid-Atlantic area, New Jersey. Pittsburgh could switch to a couple hour period of snow and add up to maybe as much as of an inch. Very possible. We go up to New York. A lot of this right here is lake effect stuff, but up here, kind of in this region right here, the Adirondacks, this is really driven off the storm system moving in. Going to add up to a few inches in the Adirondacks, Tuck Hill Plateau of wet snow with this system. And even all the way down to Binghamton, you guys could get a half an inch to an inch of snow. Syracuse, kind of the same thing. The Valley region, just going to be mainly rain with this. And, just not expecting much when you go up to Maine with this system. This is mainly driven off what's happening right now. But look, Vermont, New Hampshire, not getting a whole lot out of this. It's the freezing rain that's a big issue up here, folks. Freezing rain is going to be pretty significant for a period before it melts in New Hampshire and western sections of Maine. Folks, in this kind of shade of pink here, this is like 1/10 to 3/10 of an inch of ice. So freezing rain will be an issue before it warms up and melts, which it will. And then it'll refreeze once the cold front kind of blasts through. Now, speaking of the lake effect areas, we'll start out west to east. So we'll show our fine folks up here in the UP of Michigan. I always continue to be blown away by the amount of people that tune in from the UP of Michigan to watch me. I really appreciate you guys very much. But you really got to be close to the southern shorelines of Lake Superior to get the most snow. Once you get, away, significantly less snow. So really anybody from the far western UP of Michigan, the far eastern UP of Michigan, if you lived in this little corridor right in here, anywhere from, I would say, 4 to 6 to maybe as much, 13 inches of snow here in this little area, almost a foot to a foot and a half of snow. So it just depends on where you live in these little regions right here. Marquette going for about 4 to 5, Houghton 9 to 10. And yeah, so definitely a lot of snow in this area. It's between now and about 1 a.m. Monday. So next Monday, head on down south to Lower Michigan. We'll go out to about the same time frame. Let's see. Yep. So obviously, the western sections of Lower Michigan is favored with this system. There'll be an area kind of around the Grayling area that could get, the north and south of it, could get several inches to maybe a foot, foot and a half of snow. Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, anywhere from 4 to 7 inches of snow. And just all these communities that live right here, anywhere, I'm throwing my cursor over here, 6 to 8 inches of snow. You get into central Lower Michigan, inch or two. Detroit could get an inch or so of snow out of this, but just not a lot out of these areas over here. Now we go on and switch gears and we move it to, let's try Ohio. And first off, let's show this area right here. Yeah, not that much. So we'll actually switch it back and look at Ohio. And yeah, not much of the lake effect snow showing up. Cleveland, this is not going to be really a lake effect snow event for you guys. Just maybe an inch of snow at most. And I don't even know if that's really driven off really lake effect snow at all. We look at PA. It's going to show Erie in this. Erie, this is going to be a pretty hefty event. We'll take this all the way out to about Monday. The National Weather Service going for about, well, this is the blend of all models because we don't have the entirety of the National Weather Service forecasting of this, but the blend of all models going for about 10 to 11 inches of snow. More than this could actually fall. It certainly could. In this band, I would say east, northeast of Erie and north of Jamestown, this band could produce a lot more snow. In fact, could produce 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow. And I would argue more snow than this is actually going to fall in this area. In fact, I'm going to go on up to New York, take this all the way out to the same time period, which is about next Monday. Buffalo going for about 4 inches with this between now and the entirety of the event. Watertown Point South, 7. But once you get into the Tuck Hill Plateau, mixture between both storms, foot to 16, 17, 18 inches of snow. Rochester, an inch or two. But one thing I want to notice here in this area is if I switch it to this, well, if I look at this, look at that, go to 48-hour snow here. Yeah, it doesn't really show the event very well because it only shows 48-hour snow. So we'll kind of go back to what we were at. Y'all bear with me. And go back to snow. We everywhere, aren't we? And take it all the way to about next Monday. Yeah, same situation. The most will be, I would say, south of Buffalo, but north of Jamestown. If you live in any of these communities right here, 1 to 1.5 feet of snow is likely. So, but you head on up here to Maine. I'll show you guys this area, even though this really isn't, lake effect snow country up here. But it's not going to be a whole lot of snow with this event. It really isn't. So. The big story is winds, folks. You look at the mid-Atlantic for the National Weather Service forecast for winds. Into the Tidewater area, 30 to 40 mile per hour winds are possible. The higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains could gust 30 to 40, maybe 50 mile per hour winds, depending on your elevation. If you live in extreme eastern North Carolina, southeast Virginia, out in the Outer Banks, winds will gust to 35, 40 miles per hour, max wind gusts. And then we'll go on and take it up to the southern New England area. And this is the area that's definitely going to get power outages. This would be like equivalent to a nor'easter, but the setup is definitely different than a nor'easter. This is mainly because a low pressure is cutting to your west, and you're just going to get involved with a low-level jet with this system. But Long Island, max wind gusts for this area is going for 55 to 60 miles per hour, depending on where you live in this region. But, Long Island could be anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour. Southern sections of Connecticut, Rhode Island could be 50 to 60 miles per hour. And just, once you get a little bit further west, it's more so 40 to 50 miles per hour. But you start to get into eastern sections of Mass here, southeast Massachusetts, Cape Cod, Nantucket. I mean, they're going for flat out just 50 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts, depending on your location and where you live. And of course, some of these higher elevations, the Green and White Mountains, the Adirondacks, going to get more snow. But you go up here to Maine, last little area we'll look at here, the down east areas of Maine. If you live in these areas right here, prepare for what's to come. The winds will be howling. I mean, tropical storm to at times hurricane force wind gusts, anywhere from 50 to as high end as 70 mile per hour wind gusts are possible along the coastal areas of Maine, especially once you get to the down east areas of Maine. And folks, the wild thing is this low pressure is cutting like this. So this is even going to bring high winds all the way up to Caribou. I mean, the potential is there for 50 mile per hour wind gust up in Caribou. It definitely can be damaging up here. So that's a breakdown of the lake effect and the storm system for the United States. Now, for my friends up here in Canada, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, etc., I think New Brunswick, Western Nova Scotia could be the highest impact areas, and we continue to move forward here. We could get a little bit of ice, a little bit of freezing rain in northern New Brunswick right at the beginning of this. I'm just showing you guys the Euro. But this is all rain for the majority, and it does eventually switch to all rain for everybody in all of these provinces here. And this is a wind-driven rain, but the winds really pick up as we get into late Wednesday. We're getting into like the middle of the night. We could have a little bit of a break here. Kind of late tomorrow night. But then we start to get into Thursday morning. You see that low pressure flying right over the northern sections of New Brunswick. This is going to bring high winds across all of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, etc. All these areas will get high winds. This is rain, not snow. A wind-driven rain for you folks. And this will continue. And then the cold air will blast through, but then we might get left over with some snow showers late Thursday night into Friday morning. But this is just a rain event. And speaking of winds, I know you guys go off kilometers per hour. So this is predicted wind gusts from the Euro in kilometers per hour. For you folks, I had something up. Yeah, for like St. John, I mean, you could get a wind gust of around 100 kilometers per hour. Extreme Western Nova Scotia, like maybe Yarmouth, same kind of situation as St. John. And then, the whole entire Bay of Fundy, it's going to be very strong winds, especially the western sections. Graham and Ann, I think is how you pronounce it, maybe 100 to 110, 120 kilometer per hour winds. And I would say, if you live in the western half of New Brunswick, even Fredericton, you guys could get that 90 to 100 kilometer per hour winds. Once you start to get over the rest of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton Island, for example, I think, you guys could get anywhere from 60, 65 to as high end as 90 kilometer per hour winds over here. But this is definitely just going to be an odd system because of how the low pressure is cutting through. So definitely hunker down if you're in Canada. The last thing we'll mention about this storm system is there is going to be a quick cold shot. When I tell you quick, it's going to be quick. Now, it's going to be pretty darn cold for about 24 hours up here in the northern sections of Minnesota, Wisconsin. I mean, you see these anomalies right here. That is 25 to 30 degrees below average in mid-December. So it's going to be frigid up here for a period. It's going to be anywhere from 5 to as much as 15 degrees below average for the southeast as we're getting into Thursday. It's going to be cold up in the mid-Atlantic and the northeast in the Friday morning, even in the Saturday, and then quickly we start to warm back up as we're getting into the tail end of this weekend, and then it looks like we really warm up for the entirety of the country. Is it going to be a torch? I have my doubts, but we'll see. For some areas it will. It'll be well above average. So. But looking at today's forecast, we're getting the beginning stages of the potent storm system that we just broke down. We're getting rounds of heavy rain, even some thunderstorms. We've had some tornado warnings down here in Louisiana this morning. We're already getting some nasty thunderstorms down here in southern Mississippi, southeast Louisiana. We got some moisture here that brought some snow in Colorado yesterday. down into New Mexico, Texas, a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, and all this moisture will kind of come together and start to impact the Northeast later in the next 24 hours. We got energy surging down with this trough, so light kind of rounds of flurries and light snow scattered about across the northern sections of the country. But watches, warnings, and advisories. We got a lot of special weather statements in this shade of blue here. Winter storm warnings up for the UP of Michigan. Winter weather advisories for what's to come over the next 36 hours. Up here for Maine, freezing rain could be a real issue. I wonder if they'll issue any ice storm warnings. It's a big question here. Winter storm watches up for Buffalo, Point South to Jamestown, Erie County. Winter storm warnings up for the Tug Hill area. And then winter storm watches, I think is what I meant to say here. Winter storm watches up for all the western counties of lower Michigan to the northern counties. And then there's those winter storm warnings here. I'm very surprised there's no watches or warnings right into this area. But anyways, we continue to move forward here, and we look at the chances of excessive rainfall. I wouldn't be surprised they bumped this up to a high risk. But from Montgomery to Atlanta to Greenville, Spartanburg area, down to Newberry, down to Macon, over to Charlotte, almost up to Asheville, Hendersonville included into this, you got a slight risk of excessive rainfall. It means you have a 15% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. So definitely be aware of this. Next thing you'll look at is a thunderstorm outlook. We'll kind of shift gears down here. There's definitely a non-zero chance of a tornado in this area today. I definitely think we'll get some tornado warnings. We have over the last 24 hours, but we definitely have a marginal risk stretching from New Orleans over to Macon down to Panama City. This includes Montgomery, Pensacola, Mobile, Gulfport. Level 1 out of 5 tornado risk. There's a 2% risk of a tornado in this green area within 25 miles in a given location. So take this threat serious, guys. If we take a look at what the radar could look like at a broad view today, look at all the scattered thunderstorms from southern Mississippi into Alabama, getting into Atlanta. But really, the true warm sector, moist sectors down here in southwest Georgia, southern Alabama. So as we're getting into this evening, we're probably going to get some tornado warnings in this area, and just a surge of very heavy rain moving into western North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, northeast Georgia. Man, this is going to be a long duration rain event, and then this will start to shift eastward as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Could be waking up to some thunderstorms in southeastern Georgia. But a closer look at what these thunderstorms could look like today, here they are. And I really think as we're getting into this afternoon, from Auburn to Montgomery down to Dothan, this is when these storms could get dangerous. I wouldn't say an outbreak, but if they're going to produce a tornado, it's going to be this afternoon to this evening in these areas. And then we start to get into the overnight hours, and then the threat clears out. But the updraft helicity swath for this event, does show a very slight signal. Some slashes of color here indicating rotating updrafts. But rain between now and the next 24 hours. I mean, Montgomery could get 2 inches of almost said snow. Hattiesburg, inch and a half to 2 inches of rain. Atlanta, maybe 2 inches. Greenville, Spartanburg, inch and a half to 2.5 inches of rain. Columbia, almost an inch. Charlotte, around an inch, inch and a quarter. And so we definitely can get a lot of rain, especially central, north central Georgia into the upstate of South Carolina, western North Carolina. The Northeast today, moving forward, rain will start to move in. We'll start to get some occasional light freezing rain in Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Maine, and then the freezing rain will start to pick up in intensity, especially up in Maine, and this is when the freezing rain could add up for sure. But I would say you got another day to kind of prepare for this storm system in the Northeast. But once we start to get into the overnight hours, as you can tell, we're getting into tomorrow morning, heavy rain begins to pretty much take over a good portion of the Northeast here, and the winds are going to start to pick up, and it's definitely going to get heavy and nasty as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Definitely a very, very soggy and just messy commute tomorrow morning across the Northeast. So the South Central U.S., lingering snow showers, rain showers, riding the New Mexico, Texas line over here, but outside of that, that's about it. We could actually get some snow showers. It could drift down into Kansas later tonight. They could impact Nebraska too. We'll talk about that here in a second. So some snow showers could move all the way down to Kansas City by the time we're getting into the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning. Might deliver a quick dusting. It's very possible. But that's about it. North Central U.S., here's another look at this energy flying down. We're going to get some scattered burst of moderate to heavy snow across the Dakotas. This will go all the way down to Nebraska. Look at this bands of snow moving through. It's around this evening, so we could have some festive flurries flying around from Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa. Just some flurries, some snow showers, maybe burst of heavy snow depending on, how it sets up. The lake effect snows will start to get going off Lake Superior, Lake Michigan. And, this could drift all the way down into Missouri. We've already kind of broke that down. But not expecting much out of that. The rest of the western U.S., there's that energy surging through this morning across eastern Montana into northeastern Wyoming. This will deliver a few inches of snow potentially. And then the rest of the western U.S. is really, really quiet. Temperatures, big surge of warm air all the way up into the northeast. We could get into the 50s in the southern tier of New York today. Pretty wild stuff. Warm in the southeast, 60s and 70s, 80s even in Florida. Here comes the cold front surging through. And then out west, it's definitely cold. Colder than it has been for sure. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful and awesome day.